Hello and welcome to No Sevens Dice Club. No Sevens here. Uh, Last week, week 8, we went 4-2. Really good week. Would have closed it out if Texas A&M and Clemson would have done their job, and actually had an offense for Clemson and actually scored some points. What a complete disaster. DJ, man, he needs to go ahead and actually become a DJ instead of a quarterback. Just a complete, um, no offense, no nothing, same as it was last year. I explained all those details to you. Um, and then, Texas A&M, man, they're just falling apart. Jimbo Fisher, like I've already explained to you guys, he is a salesman. He will get a contract, $100 million, I think it is, or something like that. It's insane what he's getting paid. He's getting paid as much money, or if not more, than Nick Saban. In fact, it's so bad that one of the injury lawyers that you see all over the South and Alabama and everything else, he's even trying to represent some of the people, some of the boosters and stuff who put up all this mega money for Jimbo Fisher to be the Texas A&M head coach. And like, are you stuck in the contract negotiations? Let me help you. I mean, that's how bad things are starting to get at Texas A&M. And I don't know why in the world LSU still, after they let Ogeron go, why they were trying to get him. I'm so glad that somebody had enough sense to realize that Jimbo Fisher is not the answer. All right, off the soapbox. So for the season, we're 26-14. Week 9 notes. We kind of went over some of them. Syracuse time management at the end of the game, complete disaster. They have no urgency to hurry up and speed things up. They have 5 minutes left. They were down by, I think, a touchdown, 7 points, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even really remember the end of the score, but I just remember how disastrous. They had the ball. It was like 4th down and 5, and they had 4 minutes left of the game. Instead of hurry up and punting the ball to Clemson and hurry up get your defense on the field to shut them down to get the ball back, with about 2 minutes left, they held onto the punt, onto 4th and 2, or whatever it was, 4th and something, but they held the punt all the way till the last second on the play clock before they punted the ball away. What are you doing? There is no time management, and that really comes down to the head coach for Syracuse. I bet you he'll be even late, probably for his own funeral. It's maddening, just watching it, and just no sense of urgency whatsoever. Um, completely crazy. Next week, we are coming down to a really interesting week. In fact, they say this is the first time in a very long time that this is ever going to happen. I'm going to go more over it next week. But LSU, Alabama, this is the SEC West showdown. Whoever wins this represents the SEC West. How cool is that? From a team that was, only favored to win 4 games, is now getting ready to play for a position in the conference championship for LSU. Really good game. That one's going to be held at Death Valley, LSU. And Tennessee, Georgia next week. Tennessee has a game against Kentucky, and we're going to go more over that. And Georgia has a game too, but it's against Florida this week. But next week is Tennessee and Georgia for the SEC East, so it's going to be really interesting to see how things progress from there. Who is the better team for the Pac-12? Is it Oregon or USC? Guys, chime in. Let me know. Do you think an Oregon team, a USC team, is going to be getting into the Final Four? I can't wait for the expanded playoffs. It's going to be so much better. Anyway, let's get into it because we're already 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Really good notes. Chime in on who you think is going to be in the Final Four. I'll tell you what, Ohio State looks like the complete package. And I really, I said it was going to be Georgia and Alabama, but I think it might be Georgia and Ohio State in the final too, playing for that championship game. I tell you what, those wide receivers Ohio State has is legitimate. They look like an NFL team being out there. First game of the week for week 9. Hard to believe we're at the end of October, guys. The end of October. In 1 month from now, we'll be completely out of college football, and we'll be talking about championships, conference championships, and playoffs. Playoffs. So Kentucky at Tennessee. Kentucky is going to Tennessee. This is a heated rival game, and it's going to be really interesting because these two teams do not like each other. I've been waiting almost all season for this game and really looking forward to seeing how this game is going to play out. Kentucky is starting to get back in motion. Tennessee, as you know, is number 3. Took down Bama, just playing like lights out football right now. Their stadium is supposedly back up and running. They got everything fixed. Spent a ton of money overnighting all the products that they needed to get the stadium up and running. I guess if you're going to tear apart a stadium and get new stuff, that's one way to do it. But the game is at 6 p.m. Central Time. All my times are Central Time. I really like Tennessee in this. I have them at minus 11.5. That's what I did all the Sunday or Monday morning picks. So these are the picks I was able to get in. So I like Tennessee minus 11.5. If Tennessee climbs up to minus 14, I'll kind of stay away from this game. But Tennessee minus 11.5, I'm all over it. So let's go ahead and lock it in. All right, up next is Oregon at Cal. Oregon had the game day there this past week. They're playing UCLA. It was a really, really good game. Oregon is looking like a legitimate team, playing really well. Bo Nix, the quarterback, is finally clicking with that offense, doing really great stuff up in Oregon right now. And if it wasn't for that week 1 loss, man, Oregon would probably be in 4, 5, somewhere around there. Roughly around where Clemson is in Alabama. Just that crazy week 1, and so I don't know how the committee's going to look at that. The committee's supposed to meet next week, so it should be interesting. Anyway, Oregon is going to Cal. Oregon still needs style points and everything else going into this because of we have the playoff committee. So they really need to start polishing up, start really fine-tuning, start getting this offense rolling even more than what they're doing. I mean, they're averaging 40 points a game right now. Hard to believe that they need to, get more style points. But they can really put an exclamation point on that they belong in the top 10 by beating Cal and beating them soundly. So I like Oregon. I think they're going to cover that 17 points. If it goes anything above 17, stay away from this game. Or just take Oregon, whatever you want. Or just take the money line for Oregon. But I like Oregon, so I'm going to take them on the 17. All right, next up is Oklahoma State at Kansas State. This is really a pick'em game. And who do you like in this game to win? Just forget about points. You might as well just go ahead and put a money line bet on this. Or you can take the plus or minus, whatever you want. But Oklahoma State versus Kansas State. This is going to be really interesting. Kansas State this past week was up huge, and then they just gave all the points away. TCU just ran away from them. And I was really surprised when I saw Kansas State was up. It was like 28-10, I think, at one point. And TCU just came back and handled business. I took the over on that. That was one of my wins. I knew once when I saw Kansas State was up big, I knew TCU was going to have to hit that gas pedal. I kind of see the same thing with Oklahoma State and Kansas State, kind of seeing that over, but it's way too far. I think it's at like 70 points. It's way too many points. So I don't like that, but I do like the way Oklahoma State is playing. This is going to be a very, very close game, but I do think Oklahoma State is going to edge it out in the very end because it seems like Kansas State kind of slows down at the third and fourth quarter for whatever reason. I've been noticing that over the past couple of games. I know I said I only bet on Kansas State once a season, and last week was that one time. But I think I'm feeling Oklahoma State, so I'm going to go Oklahoma State +1. Something crazy. Hey, let's do it. I should even put this down as my dark horse, but pick Oklahoma State +1. All right. The next team doesn't need no introduction. I've already talked about Ohio State and how great they are. A complete NFL team all the way around, just doing great things. Marvin Harrison Jr., that wide receiver, he's a Sunday player playing on Saturday. Just legitimate wide receiver. I'll tell you what, Ohio State is definitely probably the only, no, I wouldn't say the only, but definitely the top one or two colleges that can produce some serious wide receiver talent going into the NFL. Penn State, that was the whiteout game they had this past week. I don't even know why they do the whiteout, but it is pretty cool to see it. Everybody get all white and everything else. They should really get together with New Orleans and do the white linen night in August. That's what I think they should do, and that would be kind of cool. But anyway, Ohio State is. I have them twice on here, so I'm not going to talk about the point spread. I'm going to talk about the over. The over is 61.5. Penn State's averaging around 14 to 21 points roughly. Sometimes 30 depending on the opponent, but their average is about 20 points per game. Ohio State's averaging about 45 to 48 points per game. The over-under is 61 points. So if Ohio State can put up 45, Penn State can put up 20, there you go. That's 65, simple math. So I really like the over-under. So I'm going to take the over at 61.5 points. I really like that. If it gets closer to 64, 65, I would kind of stay away from it. But, right now at 61.5, I definitely like it. So let's go ahead and lock it in. So, and, TCU is -6.5 at West Virginia. They're playing at 11 a.m. A lot of these games are super early. I really like how TCU is just handling business, just taking care of the competition, making a statement for style points and everything else too to the committee that they deserve to be in the top 10, maybe in the top 5, top 6 roughly. It's so close. That margin for the top 5 is so condensed. But anyway, TCU is coming off of a great win. They're -6.5 going to West Virginia. West Virginia is like a tricky place to play in Morgantown. You just really never know what you're going to expect. But it is being played at 11 a.m., so it loses some of that weirdness. It's something crazy, something about that air at night. That strange things happen to teams who come to West Virginia at night. I guess it's reminiscence of what happened to LSU about 15 years ago is what I'm thinking of. But I really like TCU. It's a day game. I think TCU is going to keep on rolling. So let's take TCU -6.5. All right, next up is Ohio State at Penn State again. And really nothing much to talk about. We covered everything, except for this is the point spread. I really like Ohio State -15.5. So I'm going to take this game, Ohio State -15.5. Nothing more to dissect here. So let's go ahead and lock it in. If it gets to -17 or -20, I would kind of stay away from this. But at -15.5, I'm all over it. Let's go ahead and lock it in. All right, the money line parlay. This is where you just put together a couple of dollars, whatever you want, and you just bet on the money line on who's going to win this week flat out. So we like Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, UCLA, USC, Tennessee, Boise State, Florida State, and Georgia. All right, the big money parlay for all those people who want to bet big money. Not really this week. Not a lot of games I like who I trust right now. But still, we're going to do Michigan, Oregon, USC, Tennessee, Boise State. Those are all money line picks. Ohio State -16.5. That's who we like Minus 16 and a half. How do we get minus 16 when the other side's minus 15 and a half? That's probably a typo. I meant to put 15 and a half. I don't know how I put 16 and a half. So Ohio State minus 15 and a half. Florida State, Georgia, UCLA, and TCU minus 7. TCU minus 7. I had minus 6.5. I don't know what's going on with my fingers, but it should be TCU minus 6.5, Ohio State minus 15 and a half, and then the rest are all money line parlays. So that is my week 9 predictions on who I think is going to win. Let me know who you like this week. Who do you think is going to be the winner for the SEC East and West games coming up for next week? And who do you think is going to be the overall winner for the Pac-12? And who knows, I mean, there's a lot of big things coming up. We're coming down to the wire, and November is going to be really, really interesting how it's all going to come together. So stay tuned for week 10 coming up. And only after this, only 4 more weeks of regular college football season. So hopefully you guys are having a successful season. Coming up to the 17-minute mark. So no sevens is going to catch you on the flip side. And I will see you in week 10.